Yay.
Okay, is there a little is there a delay there? What a trip. Okay. It is nice to see it bigger, right? Because now we get the little tiny TikTok.
I feel like the lighting is horrific.
I think so too.
Like it literally looks like we're in the ancient times.
It does, but yet on TikTok it's good. So what is that all about? Okay, should we go live here too? Might as well, right?
Yeah, turn it on.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I don't know enough about audio. Like, what if there's feedback right here? That sort of thing. Okay. We're on.
Hey guys.
Sid. Wait. Hey, Sid.
Did you think your name was Sydney?
No, I was starting from scratch here. The way we've done it, 17 times before? Is this the 18th?
I have literally no idea.
Okay. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Dad.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Okay. We're notifying viewers that we're live. So over to our left-hand side, I feel like I'm ignoring the whole YouTube world. They're over here, right? So
we're also live on YouTube.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
But it looks like it's being recorded like in the ancient times.
Does.
Like,
that's a bad angle for me right there. Recorded on a potato.
I feel like I look better on YouTube. So I'm kind of annoyed about TikTok right now.
Oh. And I think
I look better when the lighting is bad and like grainy.
Okay. And I just don't really look that great, to be honest with you.
Fantastic.
You're very kind. I was fishing for a compliment, Sydney. I am. Welcome aboard for anybody joining us. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, also a certified mindful habit coach. We should talk about therapy versus coaching at some point as well. And host of the Virtual Couch and Waking Up to Narcissism. We co-host Murder on the Couch. Sydney has a heart on her head.
Thanks, bro.
And you are my daughter, right?
Yeah, I do my best out here.
Just doing and being, right? So I will, this is almost embarrassing to say, so TikTok, we already a couple hundred people on here. Over on YouTube,
we've got a shocking zero
people. It's so funny. Okay, do you want to hear?
One day they'll come.
Well, do you want to hear like a crazy? What's it called? This is like embarrassing of where I go as a creator, a content creator. Are you ready?
So
that sounds so silly. That sounds so ridiculous. So the podcast world, the two podcasts, Waking Up to Narcissism and Virtual Couch, and when we had a really steady stream of Murder on the Couch, those were, they're top 200 in the mental health category out of I think 20-something thousand podcasts. So over in the podcast world, plenty of validation. Then we go over on YouTube, and I'm putting out a video that says, "Here's how you save your marriage," and it's got like 37 views. And it's like
37 beautiful, amazing people. We wouldn't change it for the world.
Okay. So you're trying to save a marriage. You got 37, 38 views, and you got some guy who's putting a little stick around a bowl, and it's at 3 million. Although that is nice.
I love the guys with the sticks and the bowls. Do not disrespect them. Like the sound bowls.
Yeah.
I love those.
I'm not, no disrespect, but when I'm talking about the 4 pillars of a connected conversation and avoidant and anxious attachment, what do we do with invalidation? And we're not getting anybody. Oh, and Maya, hi. My name's Tony. Yeah.
Someone said,
Kelly. Hey, Kelly.
How do you know if you need therapy? Wouldn't you just say everyone needs therapy?
I really think so, but I love this question so much, and this is where we can even talk about maybe therapy versus coaching. And so I think it is good to go to therapy because if, for the most part, when we're sharing experiences or hopes, dreams, fears, how things went in our life, what do most people do? If you're sharing things with your friends and you're saying, here's something that was really difficult for me, how are you typically met with that?
Where are you going? What?
So if you're saying I'm in this, my relationship is a challenge and he did this sort of thing, what do your friends typically say?
He's a piece of crap.
Yes.
Leave him.
Yes, exactly. And so then do you then just immediately say, I had not thought of that. I will leave him now.
No, I stay longer.
Okay, right? I love this one concept. So really why talk therapy works in particular is you're sharing those things that seem scary or confusing. And instead of somebody telling you what to do, they're saying, tell me more. What's that like? What do you do about that? How have you felt? How long have you felt about that? Or have you tried being more communicative? Or do you even know what that looks like? So you're trying to help that person get to that place on their own.
I feel like a lot of people would benefit from knowing that because I feel like a lot of people that are anti-therapy think that it's like, no, you go do this.
Oh, exactly.
And it's like, of course, no one knows what you're supposed to do. It's your life.
It's your life. And I really think that that's so key because I will have people say to me often, I'm really good at telling people what to do. I should have become a therapist. And that's where I'm saying, actually, good that you did not become a therapist because of that.
Therapists need therapy more than anyone.
They do.
Can you relate to that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, today, if I went through the list of clients, say, which again, complete confidentiality as a real life therapist, but everything today, there were couples that are struggling with their relationship.
We got 1 viewer on YouTube.
So right. So
Let's
the ratio is like
go.
300 to 1, TikTok to YouTube, right?
We are famous.
That's right. I wonder who that original person is. Then we can send them a hoodie. It's probably like mom.
Don't leave.
Yeah, it's probably like your mom or your
Probably
sister or something,
mom.
right? But in one day, though, I can talk to somebody about they're just getting their ADHD diagnosis. I've got somebody that's going through a faith crisis. I've got somebody going through a midlife crisis. I've got a couple that is overcoming betrayal. So you go through all that stuff, and then a therapist is going to need some therapy to process that stuff. But the talk therapy thing that I think is really cool is it's my daughter, Hydrated, and I really like that name. It's good to stay hydrated. But the ADD just kicked in. Oh, but if you're expressing yourself and somebody's saying, "Tell me more," what's that like? You're basically training your own brain to know that it's okay and safe to express yourself, because when we're told what to do or you need to do this or these fixing and judgment statements, then like you say, I'm either going to do the opposite or I'm just going to like say, no, okay, I'm not going to keep sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Do you offer advice? I'm curious. Are you the kind of person that ends up giving people advice?
Yeah, I like to. It's not always good, but my intentions are there.
Okay. Daniel, howdy from LA. Okay. So now do you know the difference between a therapist and a life coach?
No.
So kind of, I mean, we're alluding to it a little bit.
One gets like, I guess do you get paid if you're a life coach?
You can. Yeah.
But it's not like a salary.
Well, so you can become a certified life coach with different places that will certify you, but it's not like a federal or state licensing.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some sus life coaches before. Okay. That's probably why, right? Because like literally anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And right there, it's Hydrated. One's certified. Erica. Anybody can call themselves a life coach.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a life coach.
You couldn't be
starting
right
now.
I deem thee a TikTok life coach. Oh, look at that. We got fireworks over here on
2 viewers on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We are blowing up.
So then,
it's uncomfortable.
I often. It is interesting though when you're helping somebody as a therapist. I mean, you're human, so there are times where you want to say, "What about? Have you ever tried this?" But that's not your job. So if sometimes like, what else have you tried? And what would it look like if? Or sometimes I'll say, Psychology 101 sometimes says that people find success when they do this. But I mean, I don't know. That's just, what do you think about that? Where then a lot of times life coach is going to say, "Well, let me tell you what you need to do. You got to do this, this, and this
because this worked for me."
That's what I kind of think. But I have a life coach certification, because here's the crazy thing, the fun thing.
Wait, you got certified? I thought you didn't have to be certified.
So you can get a certification, but it's not a national licensing board. So I'm a certified mindful habit coach. So Coach Craig, who tried to come on here with us a few times, he has this coaching program that's pretty good, and it's called the Mindful Habit. And so I'm certified, but I'm a therapist first and foremost. So sometimes I will say that, because people will sometimes just say, "I just want you to tell me what to do." And if the therapist says, "I don't want to have that kind of power," I mean, because now if you don't do it, you get to say, "Man, I let the therapist down." Or if you do it, whatever it is, and it doesn't work, then you get to say, "Yeah, I did it. The therapist told me to. What was I supposed to do?"
Another opportunity to blame someone else other than yourself.
Totally.
Oh, that's interesting.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then in therapy, you really are figuring it out on your own.
Yeah.
Just like with someone holding your hand, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. When I was in grad school, my sensei, Darlene,
your sensei?
I really like. That's what I call her, Darlene Davis. She was amazing. It is an amazing therapist. But she did this exercise once where it's funny when you said standing beside you, where she stood at the opposite side of the room one time and then had somebody sit at this side, and then she just said, "Okay, all right, so now navigate, go around this desk and go over here and here." And the person kind of was like, "Okay," and the person got to the other side of the room, and she just said, "So how was that?" And the guy was like, "Fine, I guess." And so she was kind of saying that's almost here's what happens if I'm just going to tell you what to do. So I feel better. You made it.
Oh, but then you didn't learn anything.
No, exactly. So then she did.
Yeah.
So then once she did that, then she went over and stood beside somebody and said, "Where are we going?" And then they were like, "Well, I guess the other side of the the room. And she's like, well, and which way do you want to go? Do you want to go over the desk? Do you want to go under the desk? Do you want to go around the desk? Do you want me to help you pick up the desk? Or what's this like for you? Did your family get attacked by a rogue band of desks somewhere when you were a child? And are you having trauma right now? It's a true story.
Yeah, really?
No, it's not.
Keep going.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, sometimes I like to then say I'm therapist Tony, and I got life coach Toby.
Toby.
I know. Yes. And so every now, and I mentioned it on a couple of podcasts. So sometimes will say, I want Coach Toby in here today. And so then Coach Toby usually is like, how bad do you want it? You got to knock it off. You got to try hard. You can put anything in your mind to, that kind of thing.
So would you say that there's like benefits, like different benefits to both? Or would you say that therapy is like better?
Well,
is that bad?
Well, as a therapist, I'm a bit biased, but I do see the point where sometimes people do want maybe a little bit of a push, but I'm saying, I think that's absolutely fine if the acceptance is there that, okay, I just need to start doing, so I will have a different experience. So I'll know.
Well, also, what if you just get like, with love, a really, really dumb person or like emotionally immature person in therapy? And what if you really can't get them to like learn it themselves? Then wouldn't you to some extent just kind of be telling them what to do?
So and it's a great question. It is, so you can, but it's if you're that therapist, you have to accept the fact that it's a you thing. I think this person should do this. And I guess if they're just kind of like, okay, and then they go do it, then they're doing something. But you know how we talk about the concept of being differentiated is that everything is a me thing at the end of the day. Everything's a you thing. So sometimes when people aren't doing anything, then I might say, okay, well, here's maybe a suggestion. What would it look like if you start, going for a walk once a day? And then if that person says, I don't want to, okay, well, then now we understand. Well, we'll get some data. You don't want to go on a walk, or if they say, okay, fine. And then they go on a walk and then they say, okay, I'm tired, or I don't like the sun, or, okay, I really like fresh air. So then I told them what to do, but now it's like, okay, so now what was that like for you? So it's just kind of getting them to start doing things or interacting. Okay, let's look at the questions. Let's see.
Look at some questions. We have a Reddit.
Oh, we have a Reddit story today too. Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Nurse Jan. See, this is the stuff where I think it would be fun sometimes to get somebody like she's a psych nurse. So Nurse Jan, she's in the trenches. And
wait, what is a psych nurse? Like, what would they do specifically?
Yeah. So a psych nurse is gonna like a nurse at like a psychiatric nurse. Look what happened over. Look at that. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
I did it. I mean, I didn't mean to.
Are you serious right now?
I didn't. I just
will beat you up.
No, but I did it. Like that was me that did it. But so works at maybe a psychiatric hospital and maybe works with more clinical patients, maybe a little bit of schizophrenia or that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a psych nurse is going through it. They see a lot of things. I mean, and they have to be on their guard. And so maybe their cortisol level is a little high. I would love to then see what she thinks. Yeah, psych nurse. I have to unload what I absorb at work. Mark says, how do I know?
That's so emotionally exhausting, like on a nurse.
I think so. Yeah. Nurse Jan, if you're still here. Yeah. Tell us more about that. Is that emotionally exhausting? What are some of the things that you've going on today? Let's see. Okay. Mark says, how do I know if I'm a narcissist? And then, and somebody even said, Mark, you're not, if you're asking mostly. This is a good one. Do you know this? Like, on my Waking Up to Narcissism podcast, I say often, if you are asking if you are a narcissist, you're not. Now, what is funny about that, though, is then sometimes, let's say that, let's just go, spouse then sends my podcast to the person in their life they think is the narcissist. And then they say, you listen to this, I think you're a narcissist. And then the person will hear me say, well, if you ask yourself if you're a narcissist, you're not. So then the person will go, am I a narcissist? I guess I'm not, and then they gaslight though. See, I did this and how could you even suggest that I am?
Yeah.
And so then they weaponize that.
Is there really like a self-claiming narcissist out there?
What do you mean?
Like someone who's like, I am a narcissist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny you say this. So I was thinking about this morning. I was because I deal with a lot of emotionally immature people with narcissistic traits and tendencies. And there are sometimes people will say, oh, you need to follow this one person. They're a self-proclaimed narcissist and they tell you what to look for. And there was a part of me that was kind of thinking, okay, or is it just somebody that just desperately wants validation? And then they get that validation by saying, look at me, I'm a narcissist.
Isn't that what a narcissist is?
So
like
a grandiose narcissist, but if it's a really truly diagnosed grandiose narcissist, I mean, they just know they're okay. So they don't need the validation. They're just better than everybody else.
What's the difference between like a grandiose and a covert narcissist?
Yeah.
What
So
is that?
well, so grandiose is so there's grandiose, and then there's like a vulnerable narcissist. But the vulnerable narcissist is often also called a covert narcissist,
Mhm.
and a grandiose is often an overt narcissist. So an overt is one that is they're pretty openly gaslighty. They're letting you know that really. I actually am doing a podcast
Wait,
that
the
goes out
covert
tomorrow.
one?
The overt.
Oh,
The overt.
overt.
Yeah. So overt is like they are really putting it out there. And so, as a matter of fact, this is off of the transcript for this podcast I'm doing tomorrow. Actually, I probably won't be able to find it, but
Oh, I'm asking the right
you are,
question.
yeah, because this is going out tomorrow. This podcast is on the Waking Up to Narcissism podcast. I'm talking about narcissism and their attachment styles, like their avoidant and anxious attachment styles. But I gave this example of somebody that said, okay, I want to go on a trip. It was a wife, and it was a real example. She said, I want to go on a trip. We've got a vacation coming up. Let's go to the woods, or let's go out to the beach or something. And then he just immediately says, the guy says, seriously, like that's what you want to do? You want to go to, let's go to the beach. You know, you don't even like sand. Why don't you just trust me on this? We're going to the lake and we're going to eat at this restaurant.
The lake has sand too.
It does, right? Dirt, a lot of dirt. But then that person is so that overt is like, then they're going to say, I can't even believe that that's you seriously. And you didn't even ask me. I mean, you know that I know where we should go. I mean, how many times have you told me that you really appreciate where we've gone? And what's really happened in this scenario is the wife has just realized, well, I just can't say anything. So then if he's like, you're happy, right? And then if she's like, sure, then he's like, okay, you know? So that's like the overt narcissist, a grandiose narcissist. So that's not somebody that's going and seeking validation. They're just thinking they're awesome.
What do they just want, like control?
Yeah. And so then a covert narcissist, if then in this scenario, she says, okay, hey, we should go to the beach. It's like, oh, I mean, sure. Okay. Yeah, we could, yeah, I guess we go to the beach. I mean, that's one thing we could do. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you would have asked me, that kind of would have been, I could have had a say in that. And then, but what they're doing, instead of like, they're not going victim because they really feel so down, but it's their way to manipulate covertly, kind of like, behind the scenes.
So it's like sneakier?
Yeah, it's a little bit sneakier. Yeah. So those are called
we don't like that.
No, we don't. Right. Okay. So, where do the questions go now? I shouldn't have happy clicked on everything. Here we go. Okay.
Do they both like come from childhood?
Yeah.
Like the same thing?
Well, so that's the concept of where, if you really look at narcissistic personality disorder in general, I mean, it's, I mean, I like this definition that Eleanor Greenberg says, and she just says it's a name for narcissistic personality disorder is the name for a series of coping strategies that began as an adaptation to a childhood family situation that left the person with unstable self-esteem, the inability to regulate their self-esteem without external validation, and low empathy. So this is that concept of where, so little kids born, when they're little squishy kids and they're adorable, then they just cry, and then you meet their needs. How dare you? They're cute and adorable, and they smell great.
Facts, and everyone's lying to themselves, and they know that like newborns are creepy.
Which is a trip. And so then, but then that baby just has to cry, and everybody jumps there, and then they meet the baby's needs. So then the baby, in essence, says that, okay, if I just exist and I emote and whatever I do, everybody's going to jump and meet my needs. But then as they get older, then they start to express themselves, and then all of a sudden nobody's jumping up and down to take care of them. And so then they start to think, okay, what's wrong with me? Because normally when I would ask, I would express myself, people are going to do what I ask. Now all of a sudden they're not. And so then at that point, I got to do anything I can to get my needs met. So then if like a kid's growing up, and this is where you go back to a series of coping strategies that began as an adaptation to a childhood family situation that left the person with unstable self-esteem. So if the parent isn't all about themselves and they're there for the kid, then they're going to, hey, I want whatever's best for the kid. I'm going to be there for you, teach you how to ride your bike. I'm going to make sure that you feel loved and safe and secure. Not that you're like kind of a burden, or that, not right now or whatever, because that then leaves the kid feeling with this unstable self-esteem. And then they don't feel, then all of a sudden they need somebody to tell them you're okay, because anytime they express themselves and they're being told that they're doing it wrong, whatever they're doing, then they internalize their emotions, and then they need people to say, you're doing good. And so they were saying, am I doing good? So then get a little older, and what's the best thing that you can do to to know you're doing okay. I need to control and manipulate people. I will make sure that I am okay. I will make sure I'm never wrong. I will make sure that you know that you are. I'll make sure that you don't leave me, because I will lock you into a trauma bond, all that good stuff.
So can it start, like, is it like in your genetics to be a narcissist, or is it all like nurture first nature? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. So this is the more that we start learning about like epigenetics, and the, you know, so you might have a genetic predisposition for something, let's say anxiety, because
Let's
there's
say ADHD.
Okay, there's very real.
Thank you.
You're
Tony.
welcome. You enjoy it, right?
I'm having so much fun.
Get the
I've
fun
never
kind,
been
right?
still in my life.
How cool is that?
So good.
So genetic. Well, ADHD is different though, because I mean, I threw some genes at you. I was like, hey, who needs executive functioning? You know, making lists, not really all it's made out to be. And hyperfixation, that's kind of fun, except for when it's not. And a little bit of rejection sensitivity.
You didn't give me hyperfixation,
Didn't
whatever
I?
that one is. No, I've never been focused in my life.
Okay, what, like when you're editing videos or anything, do you find yourself? Okay. What about when you're watching whatever, Love Island or?
Oh my God, you guys! I found a new show. This is bad. It's bad.
Okay, but you get hyperfixated on a new show?
Yes, I've already seen the entire first season
of
Married at First Sight.
Oh,
Australia specifically.
Okay, tell me why you like this show, Sid.
They are with love so crazy. And I thought the people in the United States would be crazier.
Okay, what?
But specifically, the season that I'm watching right now is so good. This girl she did say the craziest thing. And I don't even know if like I hate her yet. I might like her. I'm still early on into the season.
Okay.
But it did remind me of what you were talking about earlier, where there was like, it's this guy and he's never been in a relationship before.
Okay.
And she says,
wait, so his first one's going to be, I'll just go do one where I can't even see the person. Like that's going to be his first relationship. Love at first sight?
Married at First Sight.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, he was like a frat boy before, and then he gets married at first sight.
Okay.
And this lady, she goes, well, I think it's great that he hasn't been molded into anything yet. Now you can mold him into whatever you want him to be.
So she just wants a piece of clay that she can just work with, right?
Sounds a little suspicious, bro.
Yeah. I mean, would you want just this piece of clay that you can?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And like how I see it, like I want a guy who's already molded himself. Okay. You know what I mean?
As long as it's not like he's a jerk.
Of course not, but that's what I attract. So
okay. Which we were talking before we went on tonight, and that one's a funny one because as your dad and as a therapist who works with couples, when you say that, I'm like, wait a minute, what could I have done different? You know? But I mean, your secure attachment with your parents, like that was no problem. I guess it's something else, right?
Yes, and also not every single action in my life has to do with my childhood, I don't think, right? Or do you think it does?
Tell me more.
Well, I don't know. It's just like not every
no, it doesn't.
Every mistake that I make with a guy is like for you to take.
No, you're just no. You know? I mean, because you're interacting with another human, they've got their own set of experiences.
They've got some interesting sets of experience.
Well, and I think when we get to the part, well, and your Reddit, when we get to the Reddit thing, I think we'll have a lot to say about that. But let me tell you, this is from ADHD 2.0, which I also call the Holy Scriptures, and this is what it says about epigenetics. And I think this is really, really interesting. So it says, for example, it's because epigenetics that you may have been born with genes that predispose you to depression, but because of loving parents and a nurturing school system, those genes never get expressed. You go through life never suffering from depression, even though you carry the genes that might have led you there. On the other hand, if you had unloving parents, if you never received nurturing and positive connections, or worse, if you suffered trauma and abuse, then if you also inherited the genes that predispose you to depression or another pathology, then those genes are more likely to get expressed. So regardless of the trait, condition, disorder, disease, nature versus nurture, always comes down to both. That's what they say. And I really like that.
So do you think that they're like in the future, they could like look at this stuff? I'm like, do you think
for sure? I mean, that's
before, so you can like know better places to live or like better jobs to get, or
that's the thought. It is, but I don't know if you remember. Our friend Abner Apsley, who's he's getting his PhD in epigenetics, and he shared this with me one time, and this just blew my mind. And it's let's see, here we go. So he said we have 20,000 genes and 37 trillion cells.
Ew, yeah, you told
Right?
me
Remember
this.
this?
I
And
don't like
each
this.
gene, why don't you like it?
I don't know. That's too many zeros to be like inside. And then that makes me start thinking about like how much intestines are in us right now. Ugh, that is literally so gross. Like we're literally just meat sacks of skin. Like that is gross.
So,
Like we're like squishy. Like
so about those epigenetics, huh?
oh my gosh, that freaks me out.
Okay.
Seriously. Like
Um,
sometimes I'll just wake up, I'm like, I have fingers and that's like really weird. Do you know what I mean?
You
though?
do, Sid. Yeah, those are
don't know.
neat.
I don't like this stuff. But I was listening to a podcast about this, I think, or maybe it was you.
Okay.
But it was saying like it's down to like everything. It's like whether you like live in like a place
Oh, for
that's
sure.
like super cloudy all the time,
Oh, yeah.
or like somewhere that's sunny. It's like I feel like we should know these things. Like where am I supposed to go? You know?
Right where you are, Sid.
No, I don't think so because it's not going well.
Okay, but that's the thing that I think is so fascinating, though, and this goes into that concept of acceptance and just being and doing. So when you're aware of it, then you bring gentle awareness to. I probably need a little more time outside. Maybe I should drink a little more water, or those sort of things. But so often, if we freak out about something, we make a big old change because we want to get rid of that discomfort. But then all of a sudden, then we go right back to our home base of what we were or what we normally do. And then we beat ourselves up because we're like, man, I can't even change. So it's more about like this slow, gradual change. But while we're here on epigenetics in the book ADHD 2.0, I like this part where they say, regardless, okay, so we talked about that it comes down to both nature and nurture, but it says good nurture can dramatically reduce the influence of bad nature, bad genes. So that means that even if you have this genetic predisposition for anxiety, depression, and I notice a lot of the questions that we have on the TikTok about complex post-traumatic stress disorder say, can I heal? You know, and you can. And a lot of it comes down to this concept around your epigenes, the science of epigenetics. So because it talks about that epigenetics, the science of epigenetics proves that the brain has this incredible ability to change over the course of your lifetime. And that's called neuroplasticity. And have you ever heard the thing that says, you know, your brain is set at the age of whatever, 5, 12, 25? Have you ever
I thought
heard
it
that
was
stuff?
25.
So, I mean, that's just...
It's not true. I was
No.
talking to a 25-year-old and he's not developed yet.
Maybe he's almost there. Like, was it his birthday?
No.
Maybe it's the end of your 25th year.
No, he's very far.
No. So, okay. So the science of epigenetics. So neuroplasticity, it says one of the major discoveries in neuroscience in the past generation. So people used to believe that the brain was more or less set by a certain age. And that fixed brain notion started to just have all these different cliches.
Wouldn't it make more sense that it would have more to do with like your
Mm-hmm.
experiences, not just how old your brain is?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so then some of the cliches that came from this fixed brain notion were, you know, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. Although if you
Which you literally can.
yeah, Kobe still learns things, right?
Kobe's inbred. Our dog is
He's
very
a special dog. But then, or what they say, leopard can't change its spots, or you are who you are, you better get used to it. But what we've learned is that the more we learn about epigenetics, it's in this quote. This is a good one. We know that what you do, who you love, where you live, what you eat, how much you move, what kind of stress you experience, if you have a pet, whether you laugh a lot, all those, and then this one might make you think of your intestines again. All those and a zillion more bits of experience constantly change who you are in subtle ways.
How is that going to make me think of my intestines?
Because when I did the 37 trillion cells and 20,000 genes, you did a visceral
now
reaction.
I'm just thinking about them.
But do you see what it's saying though?
No.
But okay, so it's just saying that all those things play a role in who you are and what you do, and that fixed brain notion is saying that then none of that matters. So that's false.
Oh.
So yeah. So again, I'll say this again. It's what you do, who you love, where you live, what you eat, how much you move, what kind of stress you experience, if you have a pet, whether you laugh a lot, all those and a zillion more bits of experience constantly change who you are in subtle ways. And your brain responds to all of those cues in turn. So
it has an influence on you, but it's not like the make or break. Like you can still choose whatever you want to be, which that makes sense. That's kind of how everything in life is, like parenting and like
exactly
like what you pick up from crappy relationships.
Yeah. And yes.
So can I go somewhere and get like can I see what my epigenetics are?
Oh, okay. So actually, yes, because I'm doing a test for forget the name of they did the same test on that documentary of Natalia Grace or whatever that one was. Or who's the one that just got out of jail?
Gypsy Rose.
Oh, okay. It was Natalia Grace is the one that people didn't know her age. Do you know that one? She's
like the girl who pretended that. Oh, wait, what are you talking about? Like
So-
the girl pretended she was younger and then like lived in someone's house for 30 years. That's a crazy one.
Okay, see that one, her, right? So
Oh,
they
I
did
don't
they did a genetic test with her, and the company that did it reached out to me, and I'm doing a genetic test with them, and it will test though my genetic age. And so I don't know if it's as much about epigenetics, but it tests these things called telomeres that are a certain length for how old you are. So I'm gonna get that thing back, and I'm either gonna find out that I'm way older than I am, or I'm younger.
But what does that mean? Because you know how old you are.
Your genetic age, like my number of days that I've existed on the earth versus how am I living.
So if you've been through like a harder life, would you be older?
Yeah. And then you know what I want to do? I want to compare it to the Wii Fit age. Have you ever done that? Like you got to hit tennis balls up against the wall and like swing a Wii baseball bat, and then it tells you always like, oh, you're 39 or no, like 20 something. But so I'm going to see how my genetic
Maybe
age.
it'll be accurate.
I think so. So anyway, the epigenetics.
So would a really immature person come out younger, like super young, or would a happier person come out younger, like a more peaceful person?
Peaceful and zen, and because even like this is why the immature people I work with, the more narcissistic trait and tendency people are, I mean, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of control, there's a lot of manipulation. Now they're just doing and being, they just think that's the way that it is. But sometimes your mom and I will see somebody that's
Someone said you had me at We Fit. Please update us.
Okay. Oh, I dig it. But we'll see somebody that just is walking around and they're just like angry all the time. And as a matter of fact, it's this book. One of my clients just went to this training, so it's The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Kolk. Look at that. She got him to sign it for me. But tell me if you can recognize this signature. Look at that. To Tony, and there's some squiggles. But I think it's real, But he talks about this concept of where the neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're constantly walking around in a state of stress or anxiety, then over time your brain says, well, this is where we're at. That's the neuroplasticity that's maybe not as cool. Because now my heart rate's elevated. I'm going to bed stressed, so I don't have that deep REM sleep, so I don't reset all my cool brain chemicals, and so that's where that would play on your genetic age. But this is interesting. So they say the science of the last 30 years also explains, at least in part, the tension and the contradictions that are at the core of ADHD. Explains what's going on in our brain that leads to creativity, entrepreneurialism, and dynamism. Can you edit that part out? But at the same time, irrational brooding, worrying, ruminating, falling prey to self-destructive addiction and compulsion. So it's that concept of we've got all of those things going on. So it does, I'm not just trying to say, so choose the good ones, but it's that thing where when I notice that I'm beating myself up, that is not very productive. It causes me to raise my heart rate. So all I can do is bring awareness to it. It's just a story my brain's telling me, and then start to turn towards something that matters. Mm-hmm. And then what you're doing is changing that neuroplasticity of the brain. So eventually what it feels like to be you is a pretty fun hang. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. I've been trying to do that more, be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because I just really enjoy being comfortable and not changing anything.
Yeah. That's tough, Sid. I mean, that's exactly I've been thinking so much lately about here. I think the few things that are a real challenge, we're born to avoid discomfort and seek pleasure. And then we also want certainty, of the future. So you put those three together, and it's like all I'm doing is chasing, a feel good feeling, avoiding discomfort. And then I'm getting anxious about the future because I want to know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And those things just keep you in this loop of just, I think, kind of stress and anxiety.
Yeah. And you're not feeling fulfilled. I feel like I was just constantly looking for dopamine in the dumbest tasks. So it was I would be looking forward to scrolling on TikTok or
mm-hmm.
looking forward to hitting my vape, when it's I want to be looking forward to hanging out with my friends and
sure.
having experiences with people and connecting. And I found that my whole life was just waiting for these like little sparks of
Yeah.
happiness that I wasn't actually even happy.
You know, they're temporary, fleeting, and then it leaves you then saying, okay, I guess I need to wait for the next one.
And then you feel emptier
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like, you know what feeling you want to have, but you don't know how to like keep it long term.
Yes.
And yeah, and it was just like a lot of like hating being uncomfortable. But what I found is like the more that you are uncomfortable, like the less that you are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
It's like it
Yeah.
really does go away after time.
Which is so interesting because I get to work with people sometimes weekly for months, if not a year or more. And that's the thing I think is tough, is it's a slow, gradual process.
Mhm.
You know, I know when we talk about implicit memory or what it feels like to be you is based on the slow residue of lived experience. So every time you really do, you know, give yourself a little grace, not beat yourself up, don't hit the dome.
I want to hit the dome.
Don't do it. And every time you do that, you're building a little bit more of that residue of lived experience that is starting to shape the internal neural pathways of your brain. And unfortunately, I like this quote that here, I'll read this one to you. I think this was really fascinating. It says, the strongest force in the human personality is to act in alignment with how you see yourself. So however you identify yourself, you're going to find a way back to your home base. So if you identify yourself as I'm just so anxious, or I'm so depressed, even if you are feeling anxiety or depression, but then it's like, okay, so now I might have a little bit of time and I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm anxious. Like I'm an anxious person. Like I like it. Like, oh no, I'm a good person. I'm a person that's seeking knowledge. I'm a curious person. So then that's who I am. So then if I feel anxious, but I'm a curious person, or I'm a good person. I'm an anxious.
No, yeah, a good
I'm saying?
person with space anxiety.
There you go.
Like it doesn't have to be a part of you. It doesn't have to like affect your actions.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, I do a lot with people that struggle with addiction or are turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. And so
I love it.
So that's where if somebody identifies themselves as an addict, and it almost goes back to that therapist versus life coach. Like I could see a coach saying, you know, you got to admit that you're an addict or you're not going to get better. Therapist is going to say, well, what do you think? Because sometimes people say, you know, when I realized I had an addiction, then I took it serious. Other people say, okay, when somebody calls me an addict, I feel worse.
Wouldn't you think that everyone, or maybe I'm projecting as an addict, but wouldn't you think that everyone is addicted to something?
Well, I mean, that's right. Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah. But
Like, tell me who is not, like, doesn't have one bad vice, you know?
I did have this client one time that just stopped doing an addictive behavior one time.
That's crazy. I don't want to hear about that.
I know. It's very
cold turkey. When people can do cold turkey stuff,
it's pretty wild.
You're amazing.
But my whole point there was like, I really think that this even gets to the core of though, what do you need? Because you're the only one that is you, that knows what your thoughts and feelings and emotions are. And so I just know from the work I've done for almost 20 years now that some people respond well to a label. Some people don't want to be labeled. And I used to feel like, well, I need to help them understand. But then I realized, well, that's a me thing. But it's like, where are you at? What, you know, and so where we'll start there. And because really it's about where do you want to go from here? Well, I'd like to stop hitting the dome as much. Okay, well then, whether you want to be called an addict or not called an addict, you know, whatever we can.
You love saying "hit the dome."
I do. I know. Can you give me a new one?
Oh, I heard in LA they call it a chooch.
Okay.
Smack that chooch.
Okay. Do you remember though? You got me to say something.
Oh yeah, they actually call it ligma.
I will never fall for that again. But right then I was like, and I even went home and I told Mackie and your mom.
That was so funny.
I'll never. Yeah.
I got him with ligma balls so good. So he literally.
What'd you say? You said.
No, someone in the comments did it. Someone in the comments was like,
oh,
they were like, how do you treat ligma? And I was like
ligma disorder or something.
How do you treat ligma? And he pretended like he knew what it was and gave it.
That is exactly I was so happy. I was starting to go Google it and I was so happy because in my more emotionally immature days, then I would have said, I would be like, oh, ligma. Well, that's
Let me tell you, I have an article, podcast on that actually coming out tomorrow. That would have been good.
So I was very proud of myself until then you made me look like a fool. Okay.
What were we talking about?
The strongest force in the human personality. Oh, but
okay.
Cheech.
Oh yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. That's
where were we going with that? Okay, let's see if we can trace back what we were talking about. ADHD, epigenetics. Strongest forcing personality. You're awesome. Something. Back to the question, Sid. Here we go. Okay. Where are we? Let's go. Lace Gang. OMG. Where did you get your hair gems from?
Amazon. Look up Crystal Hair Charm. And they come with like a big chunky thing on the top, like if your hair's like thicker, but obviously my hair isn't, so I just like took that off. And then I think I got I think these ones are from Joann's.
The lady or the store?
The lady, Tony. I think they're from Joann's. But yeah, you guys should get them. I like them.
She said, "Thank you, Queen."
Thank you, Queen.
It's kind of fun, right? Does that make me a king?
No, you're Queen.
Okay.
You're written by a woman. Wouldn't you guys say?
Wait, what?
Tony's like girly pop.
I don't even know what that means. Okay.
You're like a woman in a good way, though.
What is the good way?
All the ways. All the women are good.
Okay. All right, here we go. The Scribble Dibble Do. What do you think or know about the theory or thought that BPD, ADHD, autism,
see, for sure written by a woman.
and psychopathy
Definitely
are
written by a
evolutionary
woman.
traits? Oh, Scribble Dibble Do. I think there is a. Okay, so this is a good question. And I saw a lot of words, so I was going to skip past it, but I thought this is a good challenge for my ADHD. What do you think or know about the theory or thought that BPD, bipolar, ADHD, autism, and psychopathy are evolutionary traits? So I agree, but here's where.
Wait,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm already confused because I have thought this before. Does that mean like? Because I was thinking, did like cavemen have like anxiety and depression?
Don't think
Is
so.
that what this is?
I
asking?
believe. I mean, Scribble Dibble Do, which is kind of fun to say. So that's the part where I'm not 100% sure exactly what direction they're going with that, but that's where my mind goes. Is that because I mean, when cavemen, they were just they hunt, they sleep, they procreate, and rinse and repeat. So there isn't as much of like the fear or worry about what if in a couple of days we weren't able to take down a woolly mammoth or that sort of thing. But so then a lot of the things so this is where attachment theory is really fascinating, because there is a belief that a lot of these had their origin story in how do I get my needs met. So if ADHD, I mean, that one, I think there's more of the genetic predisposition for that, because now we're learning that a lot of times if there's a lack of blood flow in the fetus or the womb, that then kids can come out with a little more ADHD type tendencies. So if people like smoked and drank while they were pregnant and the baby was in the womb, there's a little bit more data that's kind of showing that. I was actually trying to find that in the ADHD 2.0 book, but so some of that would be.
You said it's a lack of blood flow.
That's the one that I remember reading.
Because I remember when I was born.
What was that like?
Like it was yesterday.
Okay, tell me more about that.
And apparently I had the thingy wrapped around my neck. So did that make me have ADHD? When I say it out loud, it doesn't make sense anymore. Let's continue.
Let's see. I was gonna find, and maybe we'll find this in a bit, but that theory though would be that any of the so like psychopathy or any of these things started out in a way where, if we look at this now, the neurons that wire together, the more that somebody was doing and being how they were, that then over time, then that is what their brain said, this is what I do. And so then they start to have that genetic predisposition for these certain things. But then it goes back though but then you could have a caveman living over by the beach and maybe has like more access to pineapples and papayas. And then he's got a little more of that, his blood sugar's more a little regulated. He doesn't have as much of a fatty diet. I'm making all this up, but then
clearly,
but he could have a completely different experience, and his genetic predisposition could come out as not as same. I'm just saying words at this point because I'm looking at the next question. Great question.
What we're all doing, bro.
Okay. ADHD has been theorized to help with foraging, hunting. Oh, there we go. Scribbled. Okay. ADHD has been theorized to help with foraging, hunting, and relaying information, even if not storing. So here, and this is, and I hear you.
I would be so bad at foraging, hunting, and relaying information.
So what
does that mean?
So I mean, it really is like if we are hyper focused and we're impulse driven, and we have to then find the right kind of difficult, and then we are easily distracted, then you might be more hyper vigilant. So you're like you're just very hyper aware. But that comes up to the point where a lot of times, what's it called? Presentism. So we start to look at what the data is we know now about ADHD and said, well, this would have been good for these things back in the day. But then some people believe that then ADHD itself, though, has been caused because of the conditions that we've experienced over the last 100 to 200 years. That it's that thing again where there weren't but then we don't know. There weren't history books of, talking about ADHD back in the 300s or something. So it's a great question.
Wait, were you going to say that there's more cases now, but like we don't know that because
we might
because
not
there's there was so much stigma around it.
Dad boy, I work in a neurology lab. ADHD has been shown to be an induced behavior.
What does that mean?
So I would love to know more about that, because that's the part where if it's been an induced behavior, because I mean, but you work in a neurology lab, and this is where I'm going to own the fact that I am not a neurologist, but I've only read and listened to ADHD 2.0 a few times, and there's a lot of data in there that's talking about it, really about blood flow in the brain, and that's why there's like a lack of executive functioning, that it isn't something somebody can just work harder for. So my understanding of an induced behavior is that there is something that is it's because of a behavior that's done that then it causes this effect, ADHD effect, and I know that one is, I'm very confident that was not necessarily always the case, because you can't just try harder with ADHD. There's things you can do to work with a lack of executive functioning. And I've got a podcast called Love ADHD. We just did this one a little while ago, but we talked about, executive dysfunction and how to manage that. And you do it with a lot of acceptance, which I think
to say it's induced, would that be saying that we were like, if you have ADHD like us, you were like born with the right brain and then you broke it?
I mean, that's what some believe, is that then there's been something you've done versus it is what you are. And again, here's what's crazy about science is like, therapists here love talking epigenetics. Thanks, brand new me. It's amazing. On the Waking Up to Narcissism podcast, I had a couple of guests in a row that talked about epigenetics and trauma and in narcissistic relationships. And it is just fascinating. But you just say
Holes. I don't remember.
Oh, it was good. Okay, what's the name of the podcast again? So Waking Up to Narcissism is the one where I have the epigenetic stuff, things around emotional immaturity, narcissistic traits and tendencies. And then I've got one called The Virtual Couch, which is more of just overall mental health. And then one called Love ADHD, which is about basically adult ADHD.
These will be re-uploaded on The Virtual Couch.
Okay.
YouTube. This one will be uploaded.
Oh, I like this. 70 Egyptian times had colleges and alchemists. They studied brains too. I love that stuff. I mean, because we know so little about the brain now, and to think of what they were trying to figure out then. Because one of my clients they are studying the brain. I think I might have mentioned this to you, but they said that it's like what we know about it now, and we know so much more than we knew 10 years ago. But it's like taking a movie and then taking, let's say, a 2-hour movie, and they said it's like taking 5 1-minute clips and then trying to put the movie together. And then they were saying that it's as if maybe every couple of years you double that number of clips. So now you've got 10 1-minute clips of a 2-hour movie. So it starts to make a little more sense, the brain does, but we're still so far away from knowing exactly what it would look like. Okay, Subaru Stylist, thank you so much. Oh, I saw that one go away. Oh, have I heard of the Amen Clinic? My son had a brain scan. It was very helpful. Absolutely, Queen Sheba. So I actually I'm very fortunate to work with the Amen Clinic, and I have right now I think I've got 3 different clients that work there, or that are also Amen Clinic clients getting their brain scanned, and I've got to be on a couple of really cool treatment teams. Even got to wear a lab coat one time.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay, Oscar, how do I stop people pleasing? Sydney.
I feel like I did used to people please a lot, but then I don't know. How do you?
Well, so the first thing is well done on being aware and asking. So a lot of people don't even know that they're doing it, and that's just what they think. That's just what I do. And then if you're to the point where you say, how do I stop? Now you're aware of it. And so I don't know if you remember me talking about this path of enlightenment. So you don't know what you don't know, then you know, but you really don't know what to do, or you don't do it very often. And that's one of the most difficult places to be, because sometimes you're like, I wish I didn't even know, or this is like really frustrating because now I know and I can't change it. But then eventually you do whatever the better behavior is more than you don't. And then finally you just become. So the fact that you're aware of it, Oscar, is amazing.
I feel like it kind of has to do with, I forgot. I kind of lost my train of thought. keep going.
Okay, you can jump in
I will.
the second it comes back. Jump in. So, so the challenge is that often when you become aware that you are a people pleaser, you're typically in a relationship where you are there because.
Oh, I have
Okay, good.
more.
Yeah.
Do you think that people pleasing has to do with the idea that to receive love you have to give love?
Yeah, it's like it's that self-love
Yeah,
deficit disorder.
because
That's nailed it.
I do feel like I would like people please, and I didn't even know I was doing it, and I would do it even with my friends, like, and in friendships, and I like would find myself being so drained after like the smallest social interactions,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't know why, but it was almost like when I would people please, it was like I was putting myself in my own little prison. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Because it was like I would be hanging out with people that I loved, but I wouldn't be enjoying it because I'd be so hyper focused on, are they as comfortable as they want to be, you know? Like, or like, are they having
Yeah.
a good time? Because like
Yes.
I would think of it like, oh, if they're not having a good time, then I can't have a good time.
Right. So
But
putting them before you.
yeah, and then I feel like it is that thing where if you're doing that all the time, if you're always putting people before yourself, you physically can't do that because you won't have enough energy
You won't.
and you won't be happy and you'll be drained and you'll be exhausted. But I feel like
yeah.
when you do put the energy to yourself, then it's all good, bro.
Well, and it's this psychologist Carl Rogers talks about this paradoxical effect of change, and it's basically it's what we continue to do is oftentimes the exact opposite of what will help us, because if what we were doing made us feel better or it worked, then we wouldn't be feeling bad about people pleasing. So oftentimes then, yeah, it's like I'm lovable because I am, I'm trying to work to be loved. But then if I accept the fact that I am lovable as I am, and then I'm just showing up, just being and doing, now all of a sudden it'll feel a little bit awkward, or you'll feel anxious about it because you'll start to feel like, wait, shouldn't I be doing something? But then you can just start interacting, being present. And then that's the way that you are showing up. And now you're having a shared experience versus trying to manage somebody else's experience, because that's that concept of where, yeah.
No, that kind of clicked for me. I feel like that was it. It was always managing. It was always like, I just want everyone to be happy and good and okay. And it's like, you will never be happy and good and okay if you're just paying attention to everyone else.
Yeah.
Like your life will be exhausting. And also just living life for anyone but yourself is so exhausting. And like there can be bumps of validation there, like because you're getting validation from other people.
Yeah.
Which like maybe that's like what you think love is, like we just said.
Yeah.
But like it's so much more fulfilling to live for yourself. It's so much more like relaxing and peaceful and easy and fun. Like I feel like that was like a click for me for sure.
Like right then?
No. Or yeah, wait.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted some validation.
And there was a click, but I kind of forgot what I just said.
Okay. It was very good though. So this is because even if you're trying to manage everybody else's emotions, or you're trying to make sure everybody else is okay, you're also playing a guessing game of, okay, I'm observing them and I'm making a judgment that I don't know if they're okay. And if you okay? If they're like, yeah, I'm good. It's like, no, I don't think they're being honest. Right. Yeah. Now I'm creating a story. I'm almost making it worse for myself.
Making assumptions.
Yeah. And then my favorite concept of you're burning emotional calories and ruminating, worrying, just stressing, trying to figure it out. And it's what you were just saying. If I was just being and doing, then it's not as exhausting. I'm just having a good time. Yeah. Very present is what that is.
I've been finding that lately. Like I used to I feel like thinking about doing things is like a million times harder than just actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been finding lately.
Okay.
Like especially with my ADHD, like my ADHD can cause me to like, I'll have 500 things to do and I will just stare at a wall.
Yeah.
I'll literally stare at a wall and just be like, yep, this is it. This is what we're doing. Yeah. And like be super overwhelmed. And then I feel like my head is just in a knot. But
how do you get out of that? Okay. Well, some call that analysis paralysis, or you're like just overthinking to the point where then you're not sure what to do. And then a couple of things.
Yeah. No, I've just been trying to just go. Like I literally like I won't let myself stare at the wall. Like there's always one task, one little task that you can start doing.
That's the best. Yes.
And then once like you start doing it, I feel like then I start to get like the dopamine from completing a task, and it helps me move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas I used to just be like, I wonder if I could do it all with my mind at once right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That
And
sounds
that's,
exhausting.
like,
I'll do it later.
anxiety
Right.
inducing.
But I dig what you're saying, because if you just start doing, then you can actually find that you can do things even when you don't want to do them. And I think
Yeah.
that's like seems so crazy
Yeah.
that right, because we just buy into these stories my brain tells me. Like, I'm not even sure which thing I want to do first is a story my brain is telling me, and I can think about that while I start to do something, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's totally a lot. Like, I'm so good at telling myself, like, no, you just need to take a nap. Like,
Yeah.
you need to take a nap. You need to go to sleep early. Like you don't need to complete it. But like the reality is, like, if I just put myself in the situation and start doing it, like you will have enough energy. Like, your body is like a lot better than you think it is at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And your brain is really good at holding you back from doing anything.
It is, because again, we want certainty. We don't like discomfort, and anything
and we don't
new,
like doing things.
right? Because doing things might be uncomfortable. It might be scary, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I know what happens when I just sit here and ruminate and worry. So the brain's like thinking, no, we'll sit this one out.
It's like associating comfort with being good. Like, that's like a big thing for me. I feel like recently. It's like being comfortable is not being good.
Okay, that's profound.
It's like when you say like that thing, the absence of good is not bad. I feel like it's kind of that vibe.
Okay, you listen to me, Sid.
I don't listen, but sometimes it sticks.
It sticks. Just kind of no. The absence of bad is doesn't mean that it's good. And then we go back to what we were talking about earlier. If you over time start to do even when you don't want to, then eventually I think your brain kind of says, fine, go ahead and do it. And then it's like, okay, now I start to do things even when I don't want to do them. And I got to be honest, I'm how old am I? Quick quiz.
60.
No.
53.
54. So at 54, we're getting ready to move, and so we're doing a whole lot of things that we haven't done. We've been in the same house for 20 something years. Love it. But there's a lot of things that I'm wanting to do, because your mom's she's doing a million things. And so I'm like, I'll take care of these things. And then I sit there and my brain goes crazy. It's like, you don't know how to do these things. And I'm like, totally, and then it's like, you should do these later. I was like, I could do them later, but I'll do them right now. And so far, everything has not been as scary as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking is so much, like, your brain makes things so much more difficult than they actually are.
Yeah.
And like, it's because it's supposed to protect you or whatever. But I'm like, get smarter. We can do this, bro. What is your problem?
I want to keep going back to the list, because your mom's doing a great job keeping the list of questions. I just saw somebody that goes by bruh, and I really like the question or the thing here. This one, I feel it's easier to do things when my family isn't home. Why would that be? And I have an answer. That's a great question. Why would it be? You don't feel that way, right? You can be honest.
I was trying to think. I was like, do I? I don't know. What are you gonna say?
Well, so this
I'm like waiting to hear the right answer.
There's no right answer. It's just here's what I believe. But I am curious though, because when I come downstairs at 3 and you're making a quesadilla, like, are you just, is that a more safe time for you to do that, or you just happen to be awake?
That's just my quesadilla time, bro.
Okay.
I don't choose when I need a quesadilla. I'm not hiding from you. Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
No, I'm not hiding from you.
Did I scare you? Was it yesterday I flipped the lights on and off? Because you always have headphones on. It's like 3 a.m. and I think I'm gonna scare you to death.
Yeah, you did. You did terrify me the other night.
I know.
Literally last night. I think.
Was it this morning?
Yeah, this morning. You left for work.
Oh, really at 2 something in the morning. Yeah.
It was literally the evening for me still.
I know, right?
Like, I'm having dinner. It was crazy.
It was. I was so, that is, man, we can talk about this for days too. I had lots of things I was excited to do. So I was like a kid at Christmas. I had to wake up and come to work. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But when I was in my previous career, I would not do that. I would anyway. I don't remember where we were going, and there was a cool point that we were making right there.
What were we talking about?
Why is it easier to do things when nobody's home? This goes back to body keeps the score, and this is one of my favorite concepts of your gut or visceral reaction.
You're on a roll. I'm gonna pee.
Okay. You know what's funny? I speak all over the world at big things, or whatever. But when you go, I'm like, hey guys.
You need someone to hold
Hi.
your hand.
Hurry. Go. Okay, you can leave the door open. You're coming back. Are you, Sid? Okay. All right. So why is that? So the body keeps a score. Kind of goes back to this concept of where this is amazing. This is like such a cool thing that the body does. Your visceral or gut reaction. So when you are walking around and you just catch something out of the corner of your eye, and it might be a string on the ground, it might be like a rock, but you startle, you look, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's just a rock. If you think about what's going on there, your emotions travel, some say, about 2.5 times faster than your logical brain. So everything goes in either auditory or visual, right to the same place in your brain. And it's like says, we got to do a quick check for safety. Are we safe? And if we are, now what do we do about it? So if you, over time, the more you interact with your family, I run into this a lot as a couples therapist, where I will have, let's say, a spouse say, man, when their car pulls up in the driveway, oh, I just kind of like go, oh, here we go. Got to be ready for it. And that's just happening. I mean, it's not a thought, it's just a feeling. And so oftentimes it's easier to get things done when nobody's at home, because there's this kind of this maybe feeling of safety, or a lack, a knowledge that you won't be judged, that somebody's not going to say, why are you doing that? Oh, now you decide to clean, why didn't you do that? And so it's like, oh man, I'm just opening myself up for criticism. So I think so often then it's just this concept where if it's easier for you to get things done when you're by yourself or when people aren't around, then that's where you start. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to do it when other people are around. Just start from that place. Because then what you'll start to do is then you'll develop those habits, those patterns where you are doing things and it feels good to do those things. So then down the road, and that's when I said, I can't even think of a funny thing.
That's what you say every time.
I know. And every time I want to do something like
every time, it's funny. It made me laugh this time.
Did it? But I didn't even
and
say
that's
anything.
when I said, I can't think of anything yet.
Okay.
What were you saying?
Oh, I said smart stuff. Okay, you know what? I almost have to go to the bathroom. What would you do? Would you like to talk about
I
stuff?
hit a cartwheel.
Go.
I don't know.
You're back in your tumbling
Don't
day.
go to the bathroom.
Oh, go in your tumbling days. Okay. Oh, a long time ago, I had the self-love abundance pyramid up here, and we were talking about people pleasing. And there's this concept, I am lovable because, first it's the negative version. I'm only as good as what I do or don't do for others, a human doing. And then I can't say this part enough, but then if that is where you feel that you are in your relationships, this is Ross Rosenberg's self-love deficit disorder pyramid. And then next up from that is excruciating feelings of worthlessness and loneliness. And so you get this existential void. And I think he nails this, where if I am only feeling like I'm as good as what I do for others, I'm this human doing, then that is going to eventually lead to this pathological loneliness, because I'm going to feel like at some point, who am I, or what's my sense of self? And all I'm good for is doing things for others who then over time don't appreciate it. So then that's where you start to feel this pathological loneliness.
Our chairs are farting together and it's really distracting me. Can you scoot away?
I will. I'll go out of the screen. Okay. Anyway, I just think that one's pretty interesting. And then the self-love abundance is, I am lovable because I am, and I don't have to work at being loved. And I think that one's an easy one to read, but how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think? Like, I don't have to work at being loved. I am lovable.
I was gonna say something else. Now I'm at school and now I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Tell me what you're gonna say.
How can you? I don't know. That's hard to throw me on the spot.
Well, I think this is, and I just go back to I forget who had said the point about people pleasing. And so let's just say that all of a sudden you hear this live Q&A, or maybe you start working with a therapist and you get that dopamine bump in therapy, even of like, you know what? Yeah, I am a lovable person. I am enough. I am good enough. But often we find ourselves in family systems. We talked about that last time, the narcissistic family system, but we find ourselves playing roles in a system. So now all of a sudden, if I go home and I say, hey, you know what? I'm not just going to keep doing everything for everybody. It's not like everybody goes, okay, cool. Right? Then everybody's like, oh, look at you now. You think you're great. Well, go get me the, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, eventually the person wears you down because they need to get you back in alignment with where you fit in the family system. So I just want to point that out again. If somebody goes from they didn't know what they didn't know, and now they kind of know and they're trying to do, it doesn't mean that everybody around you is going to then celebrate your newfound independence or awareness. They'll typically push your buttons and say really silly things to try to make you feel dumb. Wait, look at this. Oh, wow.
That was weird.
Verification. What if I would have got that wrong? It just came up and did a verification. I had to put a puzzle together. I'm not good at puzzles.
Well, it said we weren't being active enough. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Hey, I don't know.
Hey.
Okay, that is really crazy. That is. Okay, so back to the questions. Here we go. Sid. MJ, what is your best advice for somebody struggling with multiple mental issues? And you guys are great, by the way. Thank you, for real. I appreciate that. Honestly, that. And the best advice is, first of all, I just love when somebody is aware. And so you're aware. And if you're struggling with multiple mental issues, I mean, it really is important to get help. And sometimes that can feel scary. And we talk often about you can Google low cost therapy near me. You can find somebody with a sliding scale. You can, or maybe that isn't even the issue, but it's find somebody that you can start to unpack these multiple mental issues, because a lot of times one will lead to another. If you, let's say that you feel like you are being controlled in a relationship, then that's going to start to cause anxiety, because that is, the brain is a don't get killed device. And if it doesn't feel like you're safe in a relationship, then it's going to start saying, okay, I don't know what to do. And I already get the anxious vibe, you know? So sometimes somebody might feel anxious and they'll come in and talk to me about their crippling anxiety, and you'll find out, well, they're in a pretty bad relationship, or they're stuck doing a job that they really can't stand, or they're the parent that's doing everything. They have to work, take care of the kids, and their spouse is not. Yeah.
I found out recently that I just heard you say anxiety, and this made me think about anxiety.
That is a word.
Because my anxiety has been really bad lately, and I found that a lot of times, like, instead. Now I forgot.
Oh no, I'm excited.
That one was bad.
Anxiety.
That one was bad.
Okay, I think if I start talking, you usually.
No, I do.
Okay, so here we go.
That's like the craziest thing that happens in my brain. It really just like, it's like there's a dumpster fire in here that just started.
Is it an adorable one?
No, not at all.
Okay, and I know, like,
oh, someone said tips on manic depression.
Okay.
Do you have any for that?
Well, so what's difficult is, this is where, as a licensed marriage and family therapist, a certified mental health professional, all those kind of things, I really want, and I sound so lame, but I would recommend going to see somebody and getting help, because I don't know all the things that lead up to that person's, manic episodes or their depressive episodes. And so I love the fact that they're asking questions, but we were talking earlier about, now if I say, well, I would recommend mindfulness and meditation. That's one of the main things I would suggest. Then and I'm so grateful this person's here. But if their first thought is, yeah, I don't know, I've tried that, it doesn't really work, or, well, okay, what else though? Because that's where I would start, because being able to bring a pause into your life is an amazing thing. Because if mania, depression, a lot of times it's just like it's like almost impulsive, or this reaction. And so then at that point, we're already into the what's wrong with me, or I'm broken. And so I'm a big fan of mindfulness and meditation. I'm a big fan of just like doing. I talk about my emotional baseline theory. So sometimes people want these really big, like a magic wand kind of a fix. But the reality is, it's, hey, get an adult coloring book, go on a walk, pet a dog, just start to do things for yourself that raise your emotional baseline up a little bit. And remember, we've talked about this, and sometimes that would be maybe medication will get your baseline up high enough that you can then access some tools. So, I think that's it's kind of my thoughts. Chelsea, you guys are adorable. My family doesn't talk about feelings and stuff. Thank you. Did we talk about feelings growing up though?
I don't think so. I don't know. I have a horrible memory. I don't remember. I barely remember anything.
Yeah.
Is that an ADHD thing?
I mean, so this is that thing where the more we're learning about anxiety, stress, the brain, impulsivity, cortisol. So ADHD, we're pretty impulsive. Again, a fun hang though.
No, I know I'm impulsive.
So that is like hyper fixation and when I'm doing this, it's like, I'm sure, let's check my heart rate. It's up there. And then the higher your heart rate is, the more you got the cortisol stress hormone flowing, and you're maybe not quite into that prefrontal cortex. And so we're doing more reaction, amygdala, lizard brain, Neanderthal brain. And so then there's probably not a lot of time just being peaceful and present. And that's where you kind of start to develop more of those long-term memories, and okay.
So it is an ADHD thing.
Oh yes.
Okay.
MJ, you guys are great. That truly helped me a lot. I've been through the whole process and this was great. Thanks, MJ. Appreciate that. Blanca Parker, love the purple in your hair. I think that's you.
I think it's you. Just kidding.
Do you remember me with hair at all?
No.
It's a long time ago.
You've always been bald to me since I was born.
Yeah. It's by choice. I have a gorgeous head of hair if I let it grow. Did you know that?
Longer than mine.
Yeah. It's very curly. Yeah. Okay. How do I deal with a breakup? I'm heartbroken, man. Oh, these are tough. There was someone I was talking with today that I just dig working with this person so much. And I think one of the hardest things is when you're first going through a breakup and you are heartbroken. I don't know. I mean, kind of speak to that.
Dude, I don't know. It's like, I feel like I'm going through that right now, but not even like an actual breakup because I like don't think I liked the guy that much.
Okay.
But I am dealing with that problem. It's like you think about them constantly. And I feel like it is just like, it's like what we talk about with everything with your brain. Like your brain loves habits and it loves like knowing what's going to come next. And like if you're used to waking up in the morning thinking of someone and going to sleep thinking about someone, you are going to think about them every single day. And it's like so hard to like get that out of your system. But I really do feel like it is just getting it out of your system. It's like, it's so dumb, but time really does like heal with relationships. It's like every day it will get easier. And sometimes there will be super hard days, but just if it wasn't meant to be, then be glad that they're gone, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And at least like one thing, I don't know, at least know that you like, if you're so heartbroken, at least know that you are like, you're a good person because you're capable of all that love.
Big
and
feelings and love.
Yeah. And that's like amazing. And that's a good thing. And you deserve someone that will reciprocate that. And if they weren't, then F them. We don't like them.
Okay, Sid, that's so good. That really, I mean,
I need to listen to what I say though, you know?
We'll go back and listen, make a clip out of it or something like that. Coming next.
Because it's hard to actually feel that, you know?
Yeah. So you nailed every single, I mean, I'm thinking of a session today and this person, they're in a relationship and let's say a year ago, they said, okay, where are we going with this? You'll determine the relationship. And they said, you know, I want somebody that loves me. I want somebody that is curious about me, that cares about me. And the other person, I mean, to their credit at that point said, I'm not there right now. But so then they broke up for a little bit. Where
exactly are you?
Well, this is where I think this is such a good question. And I like what you're saying, because now let's talk a little bit about what do we do to get rid of discomfort? So she said, okay, we have to break up because I deserve better. And then he's like, I just can't give that to you. So then get rid of discomfort, break up. Now here's that loneliness. And then it goes back to the brain says, well, who do I want to talk to about my loneliness? Oh, my partner that I just broke up with. So then, you know, she's reaching out and saying, hey, how you doing? He's like, man, I'm so sorry. And that's what she wants to hear. So then that feels good. And then he's like, okay, him saying sorry, should we try again? Then it alleviates his discomfort. So now he's like, okay, we're good. And she says, yeah, let's do that. But can we really make sure we're being more intentional and talk more? And so in that moment, he's like, yeah, absolutely. And I think that he means it. But then he wakes up the next day, he's good. You know what I mean? So from that day forward, he's not working on it anymore because he's like, no, we're good now. And she jumped back in the relationship because he said the right things. But now she is afraid to say, well, aren't we going to work on it more? Because she's afraid of rejection. Yeah. And she's just like, okay, it'll get better. So then fast forward a year, now the breakup, and now there's like what you were saying, another year down the road of her now wanting to process it with him, still kind of thinking, man, maybe I can change. And maybe I can, maybe if I'm a little more patient, maybe if I'm a little more directive, but she's the one that's saying, maybe I can get him to love me. And that's tough. Yeah.
I had something.
I was ready for it.
You should. It was really good.
Well, Jay said, you're wise, girl.
I'm not in this moment.
Okay. Caleb, just got to say you guys are the best. I love sitting here listening to these wise words. Thank you, Caleb. I really appreciate that. For real. Jay, loving this duo. Who is Waldo? Who is Waldo? Did you ever look at those books?
Sure.
Okay. And Who is Waldo? Completely dig your explanations. Who is Waldo? I dig you. Those books, they were hard for me. Because I didn't know I had ADHD, and we're not talking when I was a kid. We're talking a few years ago when you were a kid. And I used to think these books will be awesome. And then all of a sudden I can't find Waldo. I'm losing my crap, you know? So I'm thinking, okay, little kids can find Waldo. I can't find Waldo. And that's that rejection sensitivity.
Wow, you therapied the Waldo.
Oh, I did.
You could
Because
do that with anything.
well, and every now and again I would, and I remember saying to your mom once, I was like, you think there's any chance like there's one of these pages and there is no Waldo? Like you're just gonna go nuts, and she'd be like, there's Waldo. And then I'd even feel worse. It's like, oh, so easy for you.
I liked what we were talking about.
The breakup
What
stuff.
was I gonna say? Yeah.
Okay.
Don't look at me. That makes it so much worse. I can't focus.
Okay. I think if I just start talking, you remember things.
Sometimes, but if if there's pressure for me to remember something, like it is crazy how empty my brain will go.
I'm not saying anything.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Wait.
Speak.
Okay, but what do I say?
I don't know. Why do you look like that?
I don't know. I'm just looking. I'm just being. This is what I look like. Okay.
That was rude.
Tips, thank you. Why do you look the way you
I'm
do as a
sorry.
human being? Okay,
You
I have a
look
big
amazing.
head, you know. Sorry. That's like,
I got uncomfortable and then I got rude.
okay, is that what you do?
Yeah.
You're,
I think so.
so rudeness is your secondary emotion. Uncomfortableness
get
was your,
mean.
yeah, you get mean. My secondary emotion is humor. Yours is rude. So I'm cracking wise and you're telling me I got a big fat head.
My bad.
It's okay. I accept that. Thank you.
Do you want to read the Reddit story?
Yes, because it is okay. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. That's crazy how quick that goes. Somebody had asked earlier, how often do we do these? And we try to do them twice a week. And let me do we're the world's worst salespeople. But if you subscribe, which is like $3 or $4, what we're doing is we're going to take some of the questions that weren't answered, and we're going to answer those for our subscribers. But even better, one of my favorite things to do is if you do the subscription, then within the subscriber community, you can ask us questions, and then we will record video answers for you, because I love that stuff. So we will do that. And then we also have a meditation script. What else we got? Sid's going to do a video for juggling.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that will be a vibe because we're not like exposing you on the live. It will be like more personal.
It really will. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, should we be saying the name when we're like saying someone's intimate question?
Good point. Yeah, but and I promise I love this stuff. I do, and I like your take on things is so good. So we really are going to, if you do the subscription, we will jump on there and answer your questions and some detail. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Reddit story.
Okay. So the actual details of the story are at the bottom, but I just think it's very interesting. It will provoke some therapy questions.
I know. Is this one we were kind of okay? Yes.
Okay. Why is me 28 female getting?
Wait, are you gonna not say the one swear word so we don't get?
Yeah, I won't. Okay. Why is me 28 female getting screwed over by 31 male boyfriend my fault because I don't love myself? Why is loving yourself the cure all to getting hurt? Why is it that every time someone gets screwed over by someone else, it's because 1, they don't have self-love, 2, they don't put themselves first, 3, they have low confidence, or 4, they attract crappy people because of 1 through 3. What's up with that? Someone can love themselves completely and be totally confident and still get screwed over and hurt. Still wish for things to have been different. Still choose to see the good. Some people are just crappy or do crappy things, whether intentionally or not. Some people completely mask who they are or what their real intentions are. My favorite thing about me is how I love people. I honestly believe I was put on this earth to love and heal people. Do 50% or more of people I meet screw me over? Sure. Does it hurt? Sure, yeah, whatever. But I'm not going to put up a wall or start becoming really suspicious just because some people are crappy. And it doesn't mean I don't love myself or have low confidence. I wholeheartedly love myself. In fact, I wish I was someone else just to experience the magic of being around me.
I like that part.
Specifics on my situation. We're happily dating until he leaves for another girl. Later discloses he had no real intention on being with me long term. Clearly, I'm hurt, but now my friends and therapists are centering it around my lack of self-love. He didn't show me any signs of this during our relationship. He told and did all the right things. So why is this about me? Please help me understand why someone getting screwed over is because they don't love themselves.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. So what I think is really interesting, first of all, is, I mean, I find myself wanting to say, well, it's because of this, or they need to do this. I mean, I think that's pretty natural for a human to do. But acceptance and commitment therapy, which I just love so much. The therapy model that I operate from starts with the she's the only version of her that's ever walked the face of the earth. You're the only version of you. I'm the only version of me. And so we think and feel and behave the way we do because we do. We're not broken. We're human. There's nothing wrong with us. I don't have stinking thinking or automatic negative thoughts. These are my thoughts. So I love starting from there. And the reason I say that is because it's really difficult then to say, but no, she needs to have self-love because then she won't put up with somebody treating her that way, but says, this old man. So why am I the one that knows what's best for her? So that's a challenge at first, because I honestly want to say, well, here's why, that if you had, and it goes back to the self-love deficit disorder pyramid we talked about earlier, where if I've had some attachment trauma in childhood, then I have had to in essence fight for being loved. That secure attachment that a parent has with a kid is that it's not about the parent. The parent is there for the kid. They provide emotional safety. They provide stability. And so their kid is going to go and do things, and their kid is going to come back to their home base, and the parent's going to say, what was that like? Tell me more. What can I do to help? Not, why'd you do that? Do you know what that does for me? Not right now, and that's where then the kid feels like the love is conditional. So that's like a big part of that. So if love's conditional, now all of a sudden I'm going to make sure that I can do whatever I can to get somebody to love me. So I love what she's saying, but I think you kind of start from this place of attachment trauma, in that, okay, it goes back to, I'm only as good as what I do or don't do for others. I'm human doing. But if she was listening to this, she could say, nope, that's not it. And so then,
Yeah, no, I get it. So, but I'm just kind of confused. So was she saying she does love herself though, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Was it that he doesn't love himself, or was it just that he's being dishonest?
He's being rude. He's being mean. And that's the part where, again, and I'm glad you framed it that way, because I'm coming from this place of where it's hard to not say she loves herself the way that she thinks that self-love is.
Oh yeah.
Not because I think so much is that one of the greatest things you can do to become more emotionally mature is to acknowledge the fact that I don't know what I don't know, because then I'm more open and willing to be curious about therapy, about what if the way I feel, what if there is other ways to act. That's why some people don't ever go to therapy, because they're like, I wouldn't work for me. How do they know? But then, because they can go and then they can say, okay, this brings up some discomfort, but I'm willing to sit with some discomfort. I'm willing to try something new. So I find that when people start to realize that they are okay, that they are of worth, that they are lovable, and they aren't just continually saying, do you love me? Or I can get you to love me, or I'll do whatever it takes to show you that I love that I'm lovable. They are putting that power into the hands of somebody else, and that person is having their own experience. And so they're probably not going to provide the validation to that person that they're looking for. So they're going to feel like, okay, I must be doing something wrong. No, they're just being. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that is interesting. It's just like, it goes to show like how confusing the word love is, because nobody really knows well, it all just pertains to like how it was shown to you in childhood, right?
That's a real good point. Keep going.
So it's like, what even is love? Because I feel like a lot of people have the idea, like you're saying, that love is I give to you, you give to me, and then we're happy.
Yeah.
But love is just like coexisting peacefully.
Well, there's so
it doesn't have to be contradictions, or like, I don't know. What do you think?
So, I like this. There's so many different cultures, different languages. I mean, I think the French have maybe half a dozen different words for love. We have love, but one can mean like, here's these types of loves. I'm just pulling up some of these, but there's psychologist Robert Sternberg's theory says that love's based on 3 different scales: intimacy, passion, and commitment. So intimacy is almost like that, we're connected. Passion is that maybe more like romantic passion. And then commitment is that, we can count on each other. So even those are 3 completely different vibes of love.
Do you think that love is boring?
What do you mean?
Because I feel like I'm kind of still stuck in the place where I'm like, I want, like, in my head, like when I think of love, or I think of like when I think of love, I think of like a dramatic movie where there's all
Okay.
this
No, I
like,
appreciate this. Yeah.
you know, I want them to be like 100% for me, or like,
Yeah.
you know, but I feel like true love, maybe it's just boring.
So I like what you're saying.
Like
And so,
comfortably, peacefully
well, I
boring.
think, okay, so this is a great question, Sid, because that I have people often that say, I don't feel that the sparks, you know, for somebody. So that must not be love. But that is often, I feel, validated. And that's where the concept of love bombing can come into play, where somebody is just saying the things that the other person wants to hear. And even they can be saying it from a good place. I mean, I think we've talked before. I always say that everybody gets into relationships and they're codependent and enmeshed. You know, that's just because they are, because we have this fear of abandonment. We feel like I have to find somebody that will love me or else I won't matter. So then if somebody says, I like football, and then if you know, if you really don't, but you like them, then you're like, you know what, I could grow to love football. So I love it too. You know, so we're kind of not necessarily being as authentic. We're afraid to say, man, I'm not a big fan of football, but tell me about it. Because we're afraid that person will go, oh, well then I think we're done.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like what you're saying, the fear of being alone. It's like you have to give yourself the love first and know that like it would be okay if you were alone.
Totally.
And
talk about that.
I just feel like society like places it, or like it's so like normal to have a partner, and it's like necessary almost, and it's like you're looked down on if you don't have a partner, if you haven't been together with your partner since high school or whatever. But I don't think that anyone really needs, like, humans are strong, like we're big strong people, you know. So and like I feel like when you're looking with the eyes of like needing a partner, like you're almost always going to invalidate yourself and going to go for things that you don't like, and change yourself to be like someone that you don't really like, because then you won't be alone. But like being alone's okay.
Yeah. But it's, so this is what I think everything you said is so good, because so that when I say that we don't know what we don't know, and we show up codependent and enmeshed just because we do, we're not doing it wrong. We're just doing it. So now you're codependent, you're enmeshed, and you start going through life and you have experiences that you've never had before, and you're two different individuals. So you're going to have different reactions. So let's say that you're now, you know, you're starting to deal with money, or you've got, you're buying a home, or you're renting a place. And now you both have two completely different ideas of what money means, what a budget means, what it means to feel safe. And so if you don't feel safe enough to express, well, I want to live here. If the other person's like, oh, I didn't know that. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, you're right. I don't want you to, you know, I don't want you to leave me, in essence. And so we start almost like compromising our own values, our own sense of self, for this fear of abandonment. A healthy relationship is one where, of course, we're two completely different people. We start out codependent and enmeshed, and then we're working toward differentiated, which is where,
of course, you'll still compromise in moments, right?
Sure.
Like, of course, like compromising that's even part of a friendship, I feel like. But you shouldn't have to literally change your values for someone else. Once you're literally changing like who you are to your core, I feel like that's when you need to take a step back. Yeah.
Oh, over on YouTube, we got some comments. Deckham, I don't think love is boring. It just doesn't follow the Hollywood script. So well said. And because it doesn't follow a script, it can actually be much more interesting. Absolutely. When you feel confident, and you are, so this is the part where when you are in a healthy relationship, again, we've said before, codependent is if you're okay, then I'm okay. And if there's independent, somebody is in the relationship and they don't care. They're doing their own thing in spite of you. But interdependent is we're two completely differentiated human beings that have our own life experiences. We're not trying to manipulate or change the other person. So we're going through life with curiosity. We're not telling the other person, you don't even get what you're doing. You don't even know what you're doing. It's like I can say, hey, tell me about what you're doing.
And then imagine how much more from life you can learn. Like you can experience like 100 million more things when you're with someone who's different than you, and that you're letting them be yourself, and like enjoying their perspective without trying to control it or like make it your narrative. Like it's just so much better.
Are you hearing what you're saying right now?
No.
It's very smart. No, it's so good, Sid. But it's so you said something earlier that I think I had to pull this one out of my my therapist bag yesterday, and it still feels weird to say it, but we talked before, acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean I give up. Acceptance doesn't mean it'll never be better. Acceptance means to take in without defense. And so often when I work with people that are coming out of a bad marriage or a really big breakup, then they immediately want to just jump into another relationship
Mhm.
because they don't want to feel alone. They feel like this is scary. But I will often say you have to accept the fact that you may not find another relationship.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean get a half a dozen cats and back up the chocolate
But
fountain
it
to your house.
could, because
You-
those both sound great. Chocolate fountain.
And cats.
Sick.
I like cats.
I like every kind of cat. That's what you want me to
I
say.
do because I like that. And I just want, I wish I could hug every cat.
Inside
But-
joke, you're on the outside.
Okay. But where that goes though, is that if I accept the fact that I may not, it sounds so funny to say, if I accept the fact that I may be single forever, then I'm not trying to find out how I need to be to get somebody to love me.
Mhm.
And then, but then again, our brain wants to say, oh, okay, so I'll never be in a relationship. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
But if I accept the fact, now I'm just learning more about myself. And I give this silly example of where then all of a sudden it's like, well, what do I want to do? And I think of one of the first clients that I was ever working with, and we were doing this concept. And she said, I've always wanted to be a rock climber. And so she started rock climbing. And so now all of a sudden she's reading rock climbing magazines and hanging out with her rock climbing friends. And now guess what? They have shared
Yeah.
experiences and they start talking about rock climbing. And she's not trying to figure out how do I show up here? Because they're talking about things that they enjoy, but they're two different people.
And then you're not missing out on life, like waiting for something that isn't there yet.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because I feel like that was a big thing, like with a lot of my friends in high school, you know, like a lot of them were a lot more boy crazy at that time.
Yeah.
And I would just see my friends like sitting there just being so like upset that they haven't like found their person yet, you know, or just like we'll be doing something, and I'm victim of, I've done this too, but like we'll be like painting or something, you know, and then it's just like they're just so sad that they don't have a boyfriend or so sad that they don't have, you know, a person.
Yeah.
And like you're just missing out on living your life at that point.
Yeah. It's just scary though, right?
But
It doesn't have to be.
But also what's more scary, I feel like, is like, I don't know. I feel like how you should look at it is maybe you will have a partner one day and then you'll never get to be alone again.
Yeah.
So just enjoy where you are. Like so much of life is like trying to get somewhere else, but just like also be happy that you are alone and you like it, or you're trying to like it.
You're
and
trying
you're
to
aware
like it.
of it.
That's it. Yeah. Because I do. So, and I think, and it's funny, TikTok just said, great job. You've gone live 90 minutes. Don't you want to take a break? So is it telling us that, hey, chill. Okay, we'll finish with this though, because I think this is really, I really like this topic a lot. So I will have people say, okay, I know I should wait a year or 6 months or whatever before I date. And then, but that's a little bit of pop psychology, because if you are going to take that 6 months or a year and you're going to work on yourself and you're going to, I don't know, just learn a new language and start exercising and go do yoga and volunteer at a cat shelter or whatever, back to the cats, maybe make some chocolate fountains. But if you're doing things, then take all the time you need, because you're going to raise your emotional baseline. You're going to show up maybe in your next relationship in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
But what people often do is then if they're waiting 6 months, they're waiting 6 months crying while they're painting and then eating all the Oreos or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like 6 months has ended. Okay, now I'm ready. And now whoever will like me,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're working on yourself, then that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like it is that like whoever thing. Like I used to be like, I want a boyfriend, you know, and then I'm just going to take whoever comes out.
Right. Yeah.
But no, like if you find someone that like you connect with on that level, then great. But I don't think that we should be waking up every morning, like being sad that we're alone, because being alone is like wonderful.
Yeah. That's good. And so then, all right. So subscribe. $3 or $4. We'll answer your questions in live.
Subscribe to the Virtual Couch YouTube.
Oh yeah,
we have a raging 1 viewer right now.
That's been kind of funny, huh? We had no idea what would happen over here in YouTube. But Deckham asked some good questions.
We'll
Nikki
fix
was
the
there.
lighting, and then maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, okay. But
you guys are the real ones.
Yeah, but you TikTok, you are the MVP. Because it looks like we're hitting 20,000 over here tonight, which is amazing. That's wild. Do you know how many people that is? 20,000 people?
20,000.
She gets it.
A+.
Okay. Thanks everybody. Have an amazing, wonderful night. And
you're alone. And that's okay.
Oh, we never got to the part tonight where we're spinning on a big old rock or whatever. Right?
And we're all fake. So we're literally not even real, so it's fine that you're alone.
Actually, when I hit stop, you'll disappear, right?
No, literally. So like stop freaking out.
Okay.
Also, if you have depression, just smile and it will go away.
There's some science
See you
around
guys
that,
later.
actually. Okay, it's not just that. No, there's plenty more there. Hey, thanks for everybody who gave us gifts as well, because that's like, we can't thank you enough that we were just so being and doing tonight. Larissa, good night. Thank you so much. And yeah,
besties. Go
everybody's
rewatch
wonderful.
this.
Oh, look at that. Canapoo Chicken sent a rose, which is super awesome. Who's Waldo out here for the
We
long
found
haul?
him.
Thank you. Found him. Night, guys. Yeah, loved it.
Good night,
Okay, good
Waldo.
night. And Charlotte Hepburn. That's kind of fun. It's all Floyd the Barber just starts. Now we're tapping out. Queen Sheba sending a rose. I
Let's
dig
see if we
that.
can wait all of you guys out.
Wait, what would that? What do you like? We're just gonna hang out.
Everybody leave now.
Oh, look at Kieran. Okay, this was the pep talk I needed. I think would that be considered? Am I their hype man? Is that a thing?
Yeah, hype beast Tony.
Hype beast. Okay, this is a pep talk I needed. Who is Waldo? Look, that's going to bed. Hey, Mashmar. Yeah, depression's not going away with a smile. We hear you. We really do.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I got a new ring though.
Okay. All right. Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you on the next live.
Bye.
Bye. I didn't get it. There we go. And there we go. 13,000. That was so good.
Was super good.
That was
Dad.
so good. Way to
had
go.
some good conversation.
That's so fun. All right. You're going to
Oh, you still have
that's so funny, right?
behind the scenes.
That's right. End stream. End.
Oh,
Okay.
that was